I thank you all for coming on this rainy night. Welcome to the World Arts Center SFU Woodwards Building. This is the first of the lecture series on Aboriginal issues. We're presenting it with SFU in conjunction with UBC. So we are co-hosted by the Indigenous Research Institute and the SFU Woodwards Office for Community Engagement. And we're also supported by SFU's Vancity Office of Community Engagement. And also we're brought to you also in conjunction from the Office for Aboriginal Peoples. My name is Piikanni O'Rourke. I work for the Office for Aboriginal Peoples. Tonight we are presenting, and of course with Joel, who's sitting there. Tonight we are presenting Dr. Eldon Yellowhorn. He is the chair of the First Nations Studies Department. He's also the acting chair of the Indigenous Research Institute. He's also a professor of archaeology here at SFU. He will be presenting the historical archaeology and the Piikanni First Nations lecture. Dr. Eldon Yellowhorn.
Thank you very much for coming this evening and attending. I'm very pleased tonight as part of this lecture to be premiering the documentary, a local premiere for the documentary that I made about the historical archaeology project at Piikanni. I started this project as a SSHRC-funded research project a few years back, and I remember when I went down to make the pitch to the chief and council at Brockett about doing this project. I kind of knew that if I was to write a standard historiography, probably nobody would ever sign it out of the library or read it, But I also figured that my best way of presenting this would probably be through videography. The only problem was that I had no idea how to make video documentaries, so I said I would do it anyway. And so as soon as they agreed to it, I thought to myself, well, I guess I better go out and learn how to make video documentaries. So I quickly enrolled in a boot camp in filmmaking and went off on that. And then over the rest of the time, it's been a matter of learning through being out there. I never realized how much I would enjoy making films. But to me, it was kind of a continuation of my interest in photography. I'd always been, ever since I was a teenager, I'd always been interested in photography. So to me, this was just kind of the next step on that. And I also used to work for the National Park Service being an interpreter. And so as part of this, I would have to make these little slideshows about the parks. And so doing this is just replacing the still photos with moving pictures. But it's still about creating a narrative and about engaging the audience in that narrative. So I started doing this research at Brockett, and I found it to be very fulfilling. And then over the course of doing this, I didn't get to this point by myself. Some of the people who you'll see on video tonight were formerly my graduate students, such as Simon Solomon, who came down there with me in 2007, I believe, or 2008. And for 2 summers, actually, he came down. And also Sandy Dealison and Christina Hannes, who's still here in Vancouver, working for the Union of BC Indian Chiefs now. So the 3 of them participated in different aspects of the research, but the overall research program kind of creates this narrative. And the type of research that I've been doing in the last little while in archaeology falls into what's recently been called participatory action research or community-based archaeology, where the community is an integral part of the research agenda and also has a big vested interest in the outcomes. So I wanted to, this documentary has come about as well by the participation of not just the grad students, but also talented people from SFU. For example, Vicki Kelly, who is a professor in the Faculty of Education, did the music for us. So the soundtrack that we have, or the score of this, is original music that was made by Vicki Kelly. Also, Robin Wieselbeer, who is a film studies student here at SFU. She's also from the same, coincidentally, from the same reserve I'm from. So she knew a lot of the people that were involved in this, and also, because she's from Brockett, had a real keen interest in portraying it in a positive way. And also, just through the funding sources such as SSHRC, and also with the Dean's Office in the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, they've been very generous in providing me with space for this. And earlier on, I did a smaller trailer of this, which I posted on YouTube. You can, if you're interested in viewing it, it's about 6.5 minutes long. And if you go to the Canadian Archaeological Association's website, they have a YouTube channel, and that's where the little mini trailer is posted. This is the longer documentary, and it's kind of an introduction. I hope to do more of these. And in fact, right now I'm involved in another project where I'm doing a documentary about the cognitive geography of Blackfoot people. And, my intention is not, to bring people's history to them, but also, I've also been interested in doing more work in Blackfoot. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Small Numbers series. You can see that on YouTube as well. Small Numbers Counts to 100, if you want to see it in Blackfoot or in English. And then there's some others. So I want to do documentaries that are completely in Blackfoot. That's like, you'd have to be a Blackfoot speaker to understand it. But also it's about doing some actions for preserving languages. So I have to say, my name's Eldon Yellowhorn, but when I started on this filmmaking, you could have called me Eldon Greenhorn. I was so raw at this. But I've learned over the last little while, and how to compose a documentary and to make it one coherent narrative. So we'll play the documentary. I have to say, this is the Vancouver premiere of this documentary. Last August, I went down to Brockett to do a premiere in the community. And there was it was a hot summer evening, and apparently last summer in southern Alberta, those were rare days. Still, about 65 people showed up to see the documentary. And the most enthusiastic response I got was from one person who said she's forever watching these documentaries on television, but this was the first time that she'd seen her own story being told in this way. So I hope you enjoy it, and we'll turn down the lights and we'll get started on. Is my first effort at documentary filmmaking. I'm actually very pleased with the way it turned out. And as I say, this was an effort that came to fruition because a lot of people participated in the project, but also helped me bring the film to a conclusion, because learning the filmmaking is one part of it, but now I can do all the editing in my lab on campus. But learning the software is a big challenge in itself, so that part of it I'm very pleased that I had people such as Robin Weaselbear to put the film together. She really displayed her talents, which is what we saw tonight. As I said, this is not the culmination of my career. Let's put it that way. This is as a filmmaker, I think this is just the first step on that path. So I will be producing more of these, and I had to at the same time keep up with technological changes. So my next effort will be in high definition, So that will be coming soon. As I said, I'm involved with George Nicholas, who's got this iPinch intellectual property and cultural heritage project going. This semester, I'm participating in making a documentary on Blackfoot cognitive geography. So what it means is going out into the communities and interviewing people who are knowledgeable about that, and then at the same time going out and shooting footage at these locations, so that when we put it all together in our little magic box there in the education building, and then produce something out of that. For the most part, this is for the community of Brockett. As I said, when I first started working on this, it was pretty standard that you write your reports, you get them published, and then you get your credits that way. But also, I found it a little bit sterile because I live in a fairly rarefied environment, with academics. We speak to other academics, but in something like this, community action, community-based archaeology, what results has to be accessible to the community in a timely but also in a friendly manner, so that toning down the vocabulary, not using the jargon that other archaeologists would understand, but nobody else, avoiding that kind of thing. So giving the community a product that they can, enjoy over and over again, rather than having to wait for some schedule on the local television network. Being able to give each person or each family or anybody who wants it, a copy of this documentary. It kind of disseminates that knowledge in a way that people can readily relate to, because I think that's the case with not just Native people, but pretty much everybody, that we're so accustomed to interacting through media such as DVDs that it's a platform that we can all recognize and understand. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer your questions. Well, thank you very much for coming out.
You're just going to wrap it up?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious, because you must have shot a whole bunch of footage. How did you decide what to include and what to exclude? Because I think that's also really a difficult decision and time-consuming. Yeah, for you spend hours and hours looking at the computer screen and cataloging the images that you take, and so that when you start putting them together in a documentary fashion, you know where to bring the clips from, to import them into the program. Yeah, and you can do it at any point, because, for example, the soundtrack changed during the course of the production, but now it's so easy to just take one strand of that thing that's going across the screen and pull it out
and put a new one in there, and it's just like changing light bulbs. I mean, it's a little more technical than that, but that's how I imagine it, you know.
It was a very humanizing way of looking at your territory and your life, and it seemed like a very personalized look into your life. How many family members did you have to ask to be in this document? Did you ask them and they said no, or?
My family, I had to beat them away from the door they wanted to join right away, you know. That's very much the basis, you know, this type of research, which is very self-reflexive. It's been called like participatory action research or community-based research, archaeological research. The term I prefer to use is internalist archaeology, because this is an archaeology that emanates from the internal dialogue that Native people have about the past. You know, it's not one that, you know, is foreign to them at all. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? One more.
Could you speak a bit more about cognitive geography?
Cognitive geography? Oh, okay, yeah, cognitive geography. That is one of my, in my undergraduate degrees, my degree was in geography. My first degree was in geography, and I always enjoyed cartography, making maps. And then I started to look into how did Blackfoot people understand their world. And so I started looking around, you know, all across Alberta, there's these place names, like the Hand Hills, the Knee Hills. If you go to Calgary, in fact, the Blackfoot word for Calgary is elbow, because there's the Elbow River that flows right there. There's Nose Hill, there's a park right outside of Calgary. And then if you go further south, you know, you get to come to a place called the Belly Buttes, and then if you go further south from there, you eventually get to a place called Heart Butte, you know. So all of these place names are all coming from Blackfoot cognitive geography, because that's how we understand the world, is kind of in anatomical terms. So the Rocky Mountains are the backbone of the world that kind of continues on like that. Yeah.
Eldon, you said that some of your next projects are going to be in the Blackfoot language. Mm-hmm. How many Blackfoot speakers are there?
Well, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because Blackfoot is what's known as an endangered language. You know, we have only a few thousand speakers left. In Montana, where there's a large Piikanni community down there, the Blackfoot language is practically dead. And I also have to say, on the reserve I'm from, Blackfoot is not in very healthy shape either. It's also endangered, you know, threatened in a very real way. So that's kind of my attempt, not just to archive the language, but to, you know, I think one of the reasons that our languages are becoming endangered is because we don't hear them on the radio, we don't hear them on television. So we've convinced ourselves that these are not modern languages. And if you hear Blackfoot spoken on the internet, on YouTube, it drives home the point that these are modern languages, and you can actually interact with the modern world using them. You know, even though, you know, like Blackfoot is an endangered language, there are still people who live their entire lives in Blackfoot. You know, they've never learned English. You know, it still kind of surprises me too.
Sort of like a reemergence of Blackfoot, then.
Well, yeah, we're trying to kind of keep it robust. Yeah.
I have kind of a two-part question. So when you showed this within the community, what was the makeup of the audience? Were they mainly elders and adults, or were there children present?
It was just a cross-section of the community, you know, really elderly people, but also just some young folks who, you know, had nothing to do that evening, so they decided to come over, and they were just curious, what's going on here? You know, well, come in and find out, you know. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that it was received well by the community. So did they voice any interest in having you do more documentaries about the area?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, that's one thing. There's a lot of enthusiasm for that, you know. And I've never encountered anybody who, like when I've gone out to ask people for interviews and that, I've never encountered anybody who's shied away from that. Instead, quite the opposite has been the fact. Everybody seems to be very eager to participate. Yeah. Which makes a big difference, because, in the community, especially something like this, doing archaeology it's a tough sell because it's not something that people consider part of their traditional package, So introducing something new like this, fortunately at Piikanni, because the head smashed in buffalo jump is right there, and it employs a lot of people. The local area, people already have a pretty good idea or a pretty good impression of archaeology. So this to kind of reinforce that idea. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? No? Well, thank you, Eldon. That was great. Appreciate it.